Go ahead and call your lawyer, Linda said, chin high, nails tapping the conference table like tiny gavels. Better yet tell him to bring his whole firm. You people have wasted enough of this HOA's time. The room was packed, neighbors spilling into the hallway, eyes bouncing between me and the woman who'd made half the street dread their mailboxes. On the wall behind her hung the same framed print every clubhouse has: a sailboat on still water. Totally at odds with the way Linda's voice sliced the air. Across from me sat Jordan, quiet, hands folded, the new neighbor who never seemed rattled by anything. He reached into his jacket, slid a simple white card across the table, and spoke softly enough that only the front row heard. Already here. Linda reached for the card, slow, expecting some prop. But when she read the letters Jordan, Brooks, attorney at law, litigation, property, and HOA disputes, she stopped tapping. Her lips parted, then pressed. She looked smaller, like someone had turned down her volume. That won't be necessary, she whispered, glancing at the board. We can resolve this without escalation. Everyone felt it. The power. Flip. People who'd been bullied for years leaned in. Her favorite word, lawsuit, had just grown fangs and a filing fee. Now rewind 48 hours. Saturday mornings in our neighborhood made a kind of music: mulchers whining, kids on scooters, the low rumble of garage doors. I just finished edging the lawn when a white piece of paper fluttered under my front doorknob. Like a ghost, another violation notice, the third this month. This time the crime was a portable basketball hoop. My son Frankie had turned 9 and shot hoops until the sun dipped behind the cul-de-sac. The hoop was weighed down with 2 bags of sand and tucked away from the sidewalk. I checked the guidelines twice. Temporary, not fixed to the ground, stored by night. I was a rule guy. I wanted peace more than any three-pointer. But Linda liked the word violation the way some people like dessert. She chaired the compliance committee and wore it like a badge: clipboard, measuring tape, and a camera phone she holstered like a weapon. We'd all seen it, the way she angled herself just so, crouching to catch that perfect photo of a trash can 2 minutes past pickup time. The notice was written like a dare. Immediate action required. Failure to remove will result in escalating fines and potential legal action. The signature block boasted her name, then acting legal liaison, which as far as any of us knew, wasn't a job that existed. I sighed, set it on the counter, and looked at Naomi, my wife. Do I move it to the backyard and roll over, or do we push back? Naomi gave me that look she saves for her shifts when someone comes and convinced a webmed. Printout outranks her medical degree. You did your homework, and Frankie's happy. I say we stand our ground. What we didn't know yet was that standing our ground would mean stepping on Linda's favorite hobby. Pretending to be a lawyer, we also didn't know there was an actual one living 3 houses down. A man who mowed his own lawn and minded his business until Linda tried to turn ours into a courtroom she thought she controlled. By noon, the neighborhood Facebook page was already sizzling. A post from Linda, reminder, portable hoops are prohibited, safety hazard, I saw, and against community standards. Some folks think the rules don't apply to them. I will be pursuing legal remedies. The comments section ignited half. Residents begging for chill, half tired of being threatened, and a few who liked Linda's brand of water. That's how Jordan slid into my DMs. Hey Marcus, saw the post, mind if I stop by? He arrived with a coffee, said he was new to the block, and took one slow walk from my curb to my porch like he was measuring more than distance. Rules are fine, he said. Weaponized rules are a problem. Let's make sure you're not the latter's next trophy. I didn't know why I felt relief just hearing him say it, but I did. Jordan didn't start with speeches. He started with paper. Can I see your CC, Anders? He asked, as if he were requesting a salt shaker. Every HOA runs on 3 stacks of words: covenants, bylaws, and rules. The first 2 are the Constitution inward-facing, but with teeth. The third is where overzealous committees try to add their own spice. We spread the documents across my kitchen island. Jordan wore reading glasses that made him look less like a neighbor and more like a professor who grades hard but fair. He pointed to the architectural review section. Temporary recreational equipment permitted if it can be moved, is not a permanent installation, and is stored outside of active play. That would be your hoop. Nothing about street view. He flipped to the enforcement section. Notice must be sent by the management company, not a committee member, with a chance for a hearing and appeal. Fines only after due process. No one person can accelerate or threaten legal action. See this? There's even a clause about the board acting collectively. Linda signed the notice herself. Naomi said, frowning, and she's not the management company. Exactly, Jordan said. Also, acting legal liaison? That title doesn't exist here. If the board has counsel, they disclose the firm. It isn't her. He asked to see the photos Linda had posted. She'd put my address on Facebook dumb move, and in one picture, her reflection curved in the hoop's backboard. The camera turned enforcer into subject like a wink. Jordan smiled. She thinks she's collecting evidence. She's creating a record. He laid out a plan so simple it felt like opening a window. First, we'd respond, politely and on paper, asking for a hearing before the board, not before Linda. Second, we'd request proof of authority. What rule? What bylaw? What vote? Third, we'd insist all communication go through the property manager. And fourth, we'd invite a few neighbors to attend the hearing because sunlight is a good disinfectant. Linda didn't like sunlight. By Sunday morning, the notices multiplied. A bright yellow sticker appeared on my mailbox claiming my numbers were the wrong font. Naomi got a garden encroachment warning for a lavender sprig kissing the sidewalk. Frankie's bike, locked to our porch railing, suddenly became a trip hazard. Each came with the same threat of legal action. Each bore Linda's signature. The cursive almost performative in its loops. Our group chat lit up like a switchboard. And from around the corner, she told me my nephew's service dog needs board approval. Is that even legal? Tom across the street. She knocked at 9:58 p.m. to measure my porch light brightness. Lydia, who'd been quiet through most drama, finally wrote, "Enough. Monday." We handed Naomi's letter to the property manager at her office, certified. Mail for good measure. Jordan drafted it for us, respectful but firm. Quoting our own CC Ann's back to the board like a mirror. He copied the entire board president, treasurer, secretary and requested an open meeting within 7 days. Please confirm in writing. It ended. That Ms. Bowman's communications do not constitute legal notices, and that no further threats of legal action will be made absent counsel. That afternoon, Linda marched down the sidewalk in her visor and white sneakers, a binder under her arm so swollen it looked dangerous. She didn't knock. She yelled from the curb. You think certified mail scares me? My lawyers will eat you alive. A few blinds lifted up and down the block. I stepped outside and kept my hands visible like I was diffusing her. Linda, this is between us and the board. We'll see you at the hearing. She pointed her phone at me to record. But what she captured by mistake was Jordan walking up behind her, with a bag of mulch over his shoulder and a calm, curious face. She spun around, almost tripping. Who are you, neighbor? He said. She narrowed her eyes. You look like a lawyer. He smiled like the sun just brushed out from behind a cloud. I get that a lot. Tuesday evening. The board emailed hearing set for Thursday at 7, Clubhouse. No mention of counsel, no apology, just an agenda item, complaint Ray, recreational equipment. Jordan showed up at my door with a folder and a question that told me he wasn't just doing this for sport. You ready to be brave in front of your neighbors? Naomi squeezed my hand. Yes, she said, before I had time to think. Thursday felt like courtroom day, even if the room would just be a multi-purpose space with a rented microphone. I woke up too early and couldn't stop rehearsing sentences in my head. Jordan didn't rehearse. He prepared. He stopped by mid-morning, with a legal pad divided into boxes like a football play sheet. Evidence, timeline, authority, remedy. He handed me a copy of the CC and was with sticky notes like flags. I'm not your lawyer, he said. I'm your neighbor. But if she wants to drag you into a legal tone, we make sure every sentence has a chair to sit on. He showed me Linda's digital trail, the posts, the emails she'd sent from her personal account using phrases like this constitutes legal notice and per counsel, even though there was no counsel. He'd filed a request to the property manager for any contract with a law firm there wasn't one. He also pulled the state's guidance on homeowner associations, notice requirements, open meeting rules, limits on fines, the right to an appeal before an impartial board. He didn't throw statutes at my head. He turned them into sentences a person could stand inside. Then he drafted one more thing, on actual firm letterhead that made my fingers tremble when I held it. A demand for compliance addressed to the board, not Linda. It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. It asked the board to confirm that fines would be paused pending the hearing, that Ms. Bowman wouldn't hold herself out as counsel, and that any further legal threat would be directed through the property manager. It cited the provision that made a prevailing party entitled to fees. That line gets their attention, he said, sliding me a copy. Naomi read it twice. It's polite. she said, relieved. It's not mean. Jordan shook his head. Judges hate mean. So do normal people in folding chairs. Half the cul-de-sac planned to come. People we only waved at now wanted a seat. Not to fight with Linda, most were tired of fighting, but to say they were done being scared of letters that looked official. Because someone used bold font dotted 5 while I was tying my shoes. Linda showed up again. No binder, just her. She kept her voice low like she was bargaining in a parking lot. Marcus, I didn't mean it like that. You know how people are. Rules are rules. If you just move the hoop tonight, we can cancel this whole hearing. I surprised us both by smiling. Linda, you've told half the street you'd sue them. You printed a sticker for my mailbox. She glanced over her shoulder. I'm just trying to keep the community beautiful. You think I like conflict. Jordan came down my walkway at that exact moment, like a doorbell on legs, and Linda physically flinched. She took a step back. You brought a lawyer? He opened his mouth to correct her, then closed it. We'll see you at 7, he said, friendly as a UPS driver. The clubhouse had that smell of coffee after 6 hours burnt, sweet and tired. Folding chairs faced a long table where the board sat with name placards and paper cups. The property manager, a woman named Chris who'd always been kind in emails, arranged a digital recorder. Per our open meeting policy, she said. Linda didn't look up. She'd taken the center seat like she was chairing the Supreme Court. Neighbors filled the room, some with babies on hips, some with arms crossed on principle. Frankie sat between Naomi and Anne, swinging his legs and whispering questions. The hoop had been his joy. He wanted to know if Joy could pass a vote. I glanced at Jordan. He gave me a nod that felt like a hand on my back. Tell the truth, he murmured, and when she interrupts, keep going. The president called the meeting to order. The agenda moved briskly at first landscaping budget, pool hours, toddlers splashing after 6. Then, item 4 complaint regarding recreational equipment at Lot 23. All at once. The air changed, like a barometer in a storm. Linda leaned into the microphone. I'll begin, she said. But for once, she didn't. Our board president, Paul, a soft-spoken guy who always looked like he wished the earth would swallow his chair, cleared his throat. We'll hear from the homeowner first, he said. I stood. I read the rules. I kept a temporary hoop for my son. I received notices signed by a committee member, not management, threatening legal action. I'd like to know the authority and the process I'm owed before any fine. I sat less than a minute. Linda sprang up. The hoop is visible. It invites strangers. It lowers property values. And it violates standards. He defied warnings. We are not a playground. Jordan raised a hand. May I ask a few questions? Paul nodded. Double quotes Ms. Bowman. On what date did the board vote to interpret temporary recreational equipment as prohibited? Common sense, so no vote. We don't need a vote for everything, only for changes that go beyond the text, Jordan said mildly. Was counsel consulted? Our lawyers approve our policies. Jordan turned to Chris, the property manager. Which firm? Chris shifted. We don't currently have. Counsel retained. A ripple moved through the room. Jordan held up Linda's notice. This says legal action will be pursued. Who authored that phrase? I did. As acting legal liaison, Paul leaned toward his mic. That isn't an official position. Jordan nodded. So, no vote, no counsel, an invented title, and unilateral threats. Our CC and the same notices come from management, homeowners. Get a hearing before fines, and portable hoops aren't prohibited. There's also a reasonable use clause. He paused. And because legal action was threatened more than once. One more point. The prevailing party in any such action is entitled to fees. No drama in his tone, just a map. The room leaned forward. Linda tried a softer key. No one is trying to frighten anyone. We just want compliance. Perhaps he misunderstood. Your tone was printed, Jordan said, tapping Naomi's green-stamped letter. We're not here to fight. We're here to be neighbors. But neighborliness ends where intimidation begins. Paul seized the moment. I move we rescind all notices issued without management. Pause enforcement on temporary hoops pending a formal policy discussion. And clarify to the community that any legal communication comes from the board through management. Second, the treasurer said, for hands rose. Linda's was the one against. She leaned toward Jordan, voice dropping. We can resolve this without lawyers. I agree, he said. Here's what resolution looks like. 1. Revoke the unauthorized notices and stickers to confirm committee members aren't legal reps. 3. Open a process next month for community input before any rule change. 4. Address social media callouts of specific homeowners. Another vote. 4 to 1 again. And then the line that would circle our block for months. Linda's voice. Barely above a whisper. Please, don't make this a legal matter. I was only trying to keep things orderly. Then it's simple, Jordan said. Stop threatening lawsuits. Start following the rules we all agreed to. From the back, Lydia lifted a hand. While we're here, what about when Ms. Bowman threatened to sue me over my nephew's service dog? Paul held up both palms. One at a time. We'll add a community forum to next month's agenda. For tonight, item 4 is closed. He banged his gavel. Clearly bought for moments exactly like this. The hearing ended not with a roar, but with chairs scraping and relief cutting the room in half. Like fresh air. Word travels fast where driveways face each other. By morning, the neighborhood group had turned our hearing into law, not gotcha law relief, and brought muffins to our porch and said she slept for the first time in months without worrying. A measuring tape would appear at dawn. The board sent an email at 9:12 a.m. flat. Notices rescinded. Social media reminder issued. Hearing procedures clarified. 2 sentences in the middle mattered most. Committee members are not legal representatives. Any reference to legal action must come from the board through management. The kind of ordinary sentences that keep peace like speed bumps keep cars from flying. Around lunch, Linda showed up again, not with a binder, but with a small paper bag. Lemon bars, she said, holding them like a white flag. Her eyes were tired. I may have overstepped. I care about the neighborhood. Sometimes I use the only language that gets people to pay attention." Naomi thanked her and placed the bag on the porch railing. "Attention isn't the same as fear," she said gently. "We're neighbors, not defendants." Linda glanced at Jordan, who was crouched by our flower bed showing Frankie how to tuck mulch around the lavender so it wouldn't invade the sidewalk. She bit her lip. "Can we not make this bigger? I don't want to be sued. I don't want a record of—" Jordan stood, brushed his hands, and answered with surprising softness. "There's no lawsuit. There's a community learning its boundaries. If you want to help with clarity. Be the person who explains the rules, not the one who invents punishments." For the first time, she nodded without a counter-argument. "Okay," she said. "Okay." She walked away slower than she'd arrived, visor dangling at her side like punctuation at the end of an overlong sentence. Life didn't become perfect. The pool still closed too early for Naomi's shift, and Tom still left his trash can out an extra day sometimes. But at dusk, you could hear kids laughing over the bounce of a ball, and no one flinched at the sound. The hoop rolled to the garage at night and rolled out after breakfast, like it was part of the house's breathing at. The next meeting, Paul added a new opening line after the pledge. "We want to hear from you." People did, and when someone said lawyer, you could feel the word get lighter, like it belonged in courtrooms, not in driveways. Every story has a last frame. Ours is simple. Frankie hit his first clean swish from the edge of the driveway, the net whispering like a secret, and the whole street clapped. Jordan raised a hand. Linda, from across the road, did too, for once. The only thing filing in our neighborhood was the sound of a ball against concrete and the steady return of ordinary peace. She loved the word lawsuit until it had a docket number attached. Now she prefers a different word we can all live with, neighbor.